anyway, it's yeah,
Yeah.
good description.
Nice. So, anything else you want to say about New York and or Lydia and Ben before we move on to yours truly?
I thought I could think of.
Okay. Well, tell us what happened with your third child.
So, Abigail, now I've had two, I've learned my lesson,
Hmm.
and I was able to do prenatal aerobics with when I was pregnant with Abigail. And I still remember the music and the motions of some of those things with her. And so I don't remember how often I went. I feel like I went 3 times a week, and it was in the hospital. It was at Wesley Long. And the good news, I feel like she was the smallest baby that I had out of five. And I feel like part of that was the aerobics I did. I feel like that was a very good thing because all of my babies were late. They were 10 days to 2 weeks late. And I don't remember which you were, but still, that's just late. Everybody
Mm,
was late. So, but you were 7 pounds and 3 ounces,
I
I want
don't
to
know.
say. But
But
she quickly caught up. She did not stay. I thought she was going to be like my sister is a lot smaller than the rest of us. And I thought, oh, I'm going to have a small little person, in my family. But
and apparently I kept getting bigger and bigger.
she caught up with everybody. I mean, she's just like the rest of her siblings
Hmm.
in size. But anyway, she and the delivery was they were much more. This is in 85 and in Greensboro. And there, they did have a restriction. If you wanted to have the baby as natural as possible, then you could only be there 24 hours. So it's kind of crazy, everybody's reasoning, but
Huh.
we got 24 hours, but it was like a bedroom. So it was more comfortable. Oh, by the way, Ben and Lydia, I had to deliver on a surgical table, like if you were having surgery. It's a flat, very uncomfortable table, like if you were having
Even
surgery.
like a table they would use for C-sections,
Yes, and
but you weren't getting a
any kind of no,
C-section.
any kind of surgery. That's the
Why?
they did it that way back then. And you had your feet in stirrups, and you are this hard and comfortable table. But when Abigail was born, it was more like a bed. It was soft.
Mm,
And they
pleasant.
didn't make you put your feet in stirrups. They had them just, kind of loosely, up and not restrained. And
Mm.
that was very unpleasant. And so that, and then you were absolutely the best delivery. And I
Yeah.
feel like the size, I told you I'm not very conducive for the delivery, but her being smaller and
Quick.
quick, it hurt the most as far as the intensity right there, but then it was over and it was just a wonderful delivery. And then the recovery was great, great recovery. Not, Ben, I had severe hemorrhoids, and Lydia, just kind of the whole pregnancy was kind of a more difficult, I think, because there was only 2 years between them, and my body maybe hadn't popped back. But Abigail's 3 years from Lydia. Both were born in April, so that was 3 years was a much better time to get your body back in place.
What do you, is there any advice you would give to listeners if they were like wanting to space out having children? Would you say, yeah, it's worth it to wait maybe 2 years, 3 years? Um, Try if you can. I mean, obviously, we don't
Have
we don't
control.
have control, but some we
Yeah.
kind of do. There's natural family planning, but would you say it's worth waiting like three
I
years?
think there's a real positive just because of the body. And I asked a doctor about it. I said, and that's what I've been told is that your body needs some time to recover. Now the positive thing is sometimes the siblings can be closer because they're closer in
But we're
age.
not talking about that. We're talking about
If you're
your
just talking about your
body.
body, then definitely.
I'm talking about your
I
body.
mean, we have a mutual friend that waited 5 years with each of their baby, and they had 4 kids, and I think that really was better. But I mean,
Okay, so there you have it.
yeah.
So mom's giving advice like it is probably worth it to wait if you can, right? If you can. What would you say? Minimum of 3 years?
Yeah, I would say 3 to 5
Minimum of three.
years.
But obviously we're not saying like if you have your baby, right? And then a year passes and then you get pregnant. Like that's obviously okay. We're just saying if you wanted to, if you had like the opportunity to like space it out and you were curious about that, mom's advice is it's probably worth it. And then my follow-up question with that is what can you speak to? You said that with me, you did aerobics and you said it was the best delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, and you didn't do that with your other children and they were different deliveries.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there's some truth behind that, that
I
women,
do. I think that really benefited me, the delivery. I really do. The other benefit too was the doctor was not a GYN, OBGYN. He was a regular doctor that also delivered babies. He was more low key and not, he wasn't stressed about things. And I think the whole environment was more casual and
you weren't in New York too?
mhm,
Like New York is just, it's my favorite city. I love it. So I'm not going to trash talk it, but there is, I can't, like having a baby, that's stressful, I
right,
feel.
right.
So
And when you're kind of fighting the people that,
that are telling you what to do
yeah.
and you're vulnerable because you're pregnant
Hmm.
and all that that entails. So,
And I,
so,
I did with, forgot to mention that with Ben, the doctor, he had a cord around his neck. The umbilical cord was around his neck, and she took that and shook that in my face and said, "This means sudden death."
oh wow. So
Yeah,
wait, so just in case mom's going back real quick, she forgot to mention this when we were talking about Ben earlier. Apparently, he had,
he had a cord wrap, which can kill. I mean, it can cut off oxygen. It can be really serious. It's just that her reaction to me, she was mad at me because I was trying to go natural and I didn't want the C-section.
okay.
By the way, my Lamaze group that had 5 couples, 3 of them had C-sections. So that tells you that was and I looked it up on the internet. It was just crazy. All the doctors were saying C-sections are better and safer. So she was just really mad at me. So she thought, and she's thinking, had she had a C-section, it wouldn't have been as dangerous for Ben. I'm guessing that's why
And what did she do with the umbilical
she
cord?
took hit the cord was around his neck, so I guess she unwrapped it and then she shook it in my face and said, "This means sudden death."
That's wild.
Yeah,
That's very bold of her.
yeah. That I told you they're very that back then they were just not rude and yeah.
Gosh. Okay. So would you give women advice to do like a cardio workouts before or if they're trying to get pregnant and when they get pregnant, what specifically like cardio, um walking, anything
Yeah,
specific or nothing? You don't really know.
I think because Lydia was my second child, so I was walking like crazy and, going get my master's and, I am definitely exercising a lot. I'm burning a
Hmm.
lot of calories with
Hmm.
Lydia, but I wasn't doing the specific muscle like what you do in physical therapy. I
Hmm.
wasn't doing, like chair yoga, like the aerobics was working on different parts of your body and
Hmm.
building up the strength in all parts of your body, not just walking. Walking
Hmm.
is more aerobic and I needed, in fact, I probably strained by walking, pounding this pavement in New
Hmm.
York City. I probably, and we lived in a 4 floor walk up, so pounding up those marble steps, that wasn't really very good for a pregnancy or but the aerobics, that was um, and I think it gave, as a mother, it gave me time. You were my third born,
Hmm.
so I got someone to watch my older 2 children. It gave me time away from them and enjoy something just for me. And
Hmm.
the aerobic had that aspect to it that I think is very valuable because mothers, we always put ourselves to the side. And I don't remember now who watched or if they had maybe a daycare there. I don't remember, but I feel like Dad probably watched them, and
Which is
but
so funny because like that's like me. That's like
yeah,
I always take priority to make sure I work out
so
and
do
or
I.
go for a walk. Like I really don't I've blown off so many things and I've gotten in trouble for it over the years and I just don't care because like I'm just gonna I need to work out. I need to
Yeah,
move my body and
I know
it just is
it's
what it
all new,
is.
and then
I need to have my time.
I know,
But anyway, so cool.
I
Thank
know.
you.
So you're welcome.
I guess it carried on into my life. So um, we're gonna take a break and we're gonna come back and mom's gonna tell us about her other two children, my little broskies. Okay, welcome back to Abby's podcast, Her Anatomy. We're here with guest speaker Joyce Snyder, who, aka my mother. And we just finished talking about my older siblings, Benji and Lydia, that were born in New York City. And me, I was born in North Carolina. And so now let's talk about your fourth born.
Okay.
Was he, were you said that for me, with me, you were planning to have me.
Yep. The only baby out of the five that we really um stopped all birth control and were trying, looking not desperate, but we were just really wanting the third child. And we people, gosh, the world, they kept telling us, you've got a boy and you got a girl, so that's enough. And
I've heard this story so many
I know,
times.
and just
You got a
recently,
boy, you got a little boy, and you got a little girl, and then
yes,
that's enough.
yep. And what's the end of it?
Uh, you and dad were like, nope.
We gotta have an
Oh
Abigail
yeah, we gotta have an Abigail.
because people, I don't know, people are stupid and they just, you're out and you're with your children and they're going, oh, that's a big mistake, right?
Isn't
That
that
that third
funny how
child,
people
that's a big
are?
mistake. And we go, no, actually, no. So anyway, we did,
They
and
basically said that they thought that my parents didn't plan me, but they specifically planned me. So
right.
it's just
And
ironic.
yes. And so, anyway, Gabriel, then I had a miscarriage, um, between Abigail and my fourth born. So there was 7 years there, and I had the miscarriage 5 years after you were born. And
How old were you at that point?
oh gosh, I don't know. I must have
So that
been,
was your first miscarriage.
yeah, that was my first miscarriage. And I'll be honest, it was the hardest. And the reason I think it was is because I just really didn't want to be pregnant. And then when I lost the baby, I felt horrible
Oh
because I
no.
didn't do anything to lose it, but it made me feel so guilty. And
Wait. So are you saying like you feel like because you didn't want it, your mental and emotional state of being could be why you lost it?
no, no,
Oh,
that's not at all. It's yeah, yeah. So let's clarify that.
okay.
I'm saying that, um, and my mother said about miscarriages that it's just kind of God's way of taking care of the baby, that there's something not right with the pregnancy, something not right with the baby, and it's just nature's way of taking care of it. And that helped me a lot to hear my mom say that. And then I found all these people that had miscarriages because I thought I was weird having a miscarriage, and it turns out it's pretty common.
I've heard so many women say that they think they're the only one. It's
Yeah.
that's why I'm doing this whole podcast
Yeah,
thing.
I thought, and I just that was a big hit. But then thankfully, people at church especially came up to me, and I had no idea. Of course, you don't talk about it really, but anyway,
Yeah.
no, what I'm saying is, when I found out I was pregnant, I was like, oh no, Abigail was 5, and I was felt like the kids, the third child, I had three, my hands were full, my husband's hands were full, and so, I just wasn't feeling like it was a good time. And obviously we didn't plan that one, but that really is not that um unusual because the first two we didn't really plan either. But anyway, that just emotionally made me feel it was more devastating. The second thing that I think made it harder, that miscarriage harder, is that he did a DNC. So I forget what that stands for, but we would slang, they would say dusting and clinging. So they go in your uterus and I guess scrape the lining and everything and
Ugh,
cling it all out. Well,
yeah.
it turns out that's an operation and that was hard to adjust from. So that, was difficult to. So after that, a friend of mine told me if you ever have any more miscarriages, you can tell them you don't want a DNC. And so that's what I did. I had three more miscarriages after my fourth born, and I told them I don't want a DNC. And it was the same doctor, by the way, the whole time.
What was his response when you said you
He
don't?
really wanted me to, but he said okay.
Then what happened?
Um, it just naturally came out.
Oh,
Yeah.
are they afraid you're gonna get toxic shock syndrome or
Yeah.
sepsis?
hmm
Okay.
And honestly, I think there was an issue with the there was I got I had to freeze my cervix at one point, and that could have been related to that.
Hmm.
There were a couple of issues that could have happened from it, but I still would do the same thing. I still think it's better for the body.
Hmm.
The other psychological thing about a DNC is you have this fear that you may not um, have had the miscarriage, and then they're getting rid of your baby.
Ooh,
That
yeah,
is
that's
the fear
true.
I had when they did the DNC. I was like, what if it's not,
Yeah, and I
it,
let them do that.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So that is another, that took away that fear. So it's worth it to me to have the other issues because some of it can stay, some of the um part of the fetus or so, I don't know, it can stay in there and that can cause an infection and but there's ways nature eventually it comes out and
Mm.
it's okay. But um
Um, you this happens. I just like I have the question and then I lose my train of thought. So when you mm, keep talking
okay.
about keep talking about let me go back to this. This is the timeline. So mom had Benji, she had Lydia in New York, and then she had me. Then 5 years after having me, she gets her first miscarriage. And she said that that was the worst, that was the toughest. And that was when she had your first and last DNC, right?
hmm
Because a good friend told her after the fact that she could speak up and say, hey, I actually don't want to do that. I don't want to get a DNC and it's my body. I don't want to do that. And apparently, like I learned something that the doctor responded, okay, and they didn't do
okay.
it. And so that's just kind of throwing that out there that you may not realize that you have more options than you think. And when you do your own research and find out, and just asking questions is a really important factor when you're just anything medical, just in general. And just I'm about to become a physical therapist, a licensed physical therapist myself. And when patients ask questions, I already know they're more on the right track than the ones that don't ask questions, if that makes sense. That's just my opinion because they're it's like they've already taken it in and they've already had time to be like, "Hey, what about this and what about that?" Does that make sense? It's just obvious that they've taken it in. So take it in your situation and then just ask questions. You're not going to get like the worst that can happen is nothing. They'll just answer your question. So I did want
And that reminds me, Abigail, of the when I was pregnant with Gabriel.
to. Mhm.
I'm 40 years old at that point, which is considered a little old to be pregnant. And the doctor wanted to do an amniocentesis. Is that how you say it?
Sure.
And he kept pushing me and pressuring me for it, and I kept saying no because if you do it and the baby has Down syndrome or something, I still want to have the baby, so I don't want it. Then he finally said, well, actually, we want to have it because we want to just see what we're working with. And I'm sure he's thinking, because you're older too, you're 40 years old.
That's
And
wild.
yeah. And so
I mean,
then I said to him, he kept trying to persuade me. So finally I said, okay, doctor, I will have it if you promise me it will not harm the baby. And he couldn't. Because what you're doing, you're taking a needle and you're putting it in the amniotic, whatever that's called,
Amniotic sac?
sac in the fluid, and you're taking it out to investigate and research. So you can touch the baby,
Mm,
which is obviously dangerous.
yeah.
So I said, if you can promise me that that he's completely safe and that won't happen, okay. And he walked away. He said, no, can't do it.
Wow.
So that's why research, like you said, is very important
Knowledge
because
is power.
if I hadn't known that,
Hmm.
I'd have said, oh, okay.
Good for you, Mom.
Excuse me.
Hmm. So, so after me, 5 years after me, she has her first miscarriage in her first and last D&C, and then you had Gabriel, right? Your fourth born. And then she said, so we'll talk about Gabriel, and but then she said, just to recap, that she had three more miscarriages after Gabriel. So you would have been in your 40s at this time.
Mhm.
But the thing is, she had those three miscarriages, but then she ended up getting pregnant when you were how old?
I was pregnant at 45 and delivered him when I was almost 46. I was a month from being 46.
My little brother Michael, who's
Amazing.
amazing. I freaking love him so much. He is like, we'll talk about him. He's just like, he's just awesome. So, anyways, and it was a healthy delivery, right? And he,
Yes, it was. And I went through all the Lamaze I had learned with my firstborn because you were kind of short, so I didn't use a lot of the Lamaze, your delivery.
mhm,
But Michael's was pretty long, and so I used all that Lamaze again. But then he had fetal distress. They had an internal monitor on, and he had fetal distress. So
hmm,
they wound up doing a C-section. So he was the only C-section I had,
hmm,
which wound up being a blessing because he was 21 inches. No, I'm sorry, 23 inches long.
long.
23. The bassinets are 24 inches. And I mean, sure, they're all cramped up in there, but whatever. He's 23 inches long and
He's tall now too.
he's 10 pounds. He was 10
Oh my
pounds and
gosh,
9
Mom.
ounces, I think. I can't, I always, I repress the amount of ounces, but anyway, and he was face up. They didn't realize he was now with modern machinery, they might, because this was 27 years ago.
Mm.
So now they might be able to know they were face up. But anyway, that's a very difficult delivery if their face is up and they're that big. So it wound up being a blessing. But my husband watched it and he said it looked like a snake. And they were pulling this because he didn't look chunky at 10 pounds because he was so long. And but yeah.
So we'll go, but let's go back to Gabriel. So Gabriel is the one I mentioned earlier. He's the attorney who married Audrey. They met at college at their school cafeteria, and then they both went on to law school, and they're both attorneys right now, and they're doing awesome. And they have my two little nieces that are so
So
precious. We're high key obsessed with them,
yeah,
very biased. Like I didn't know I could love something so
I
much.
know.
So they're precious. So tell us about Gabriel's birth and that whole situation, and what was it like having, like, how did you, I just feel like I can't imagine, well, I was there, but like I'm just saying
Yeah,
I
you
was
were there.
uh,
So you do you remember it being long that because that
Gabe.
Gabriel because they thought they took that I know I said that earlier but they took all the sterilized things off because they thought he was ready to come and he didn't come out and didn't come out so they had to give the doctor all new equipment
Oh
because
wow.
he didn't come out as quick as they
And
thought
it got
and it got
unsterilized,
unsterilized.
so then
Yeah.
they had to,
So it was
he just wanted to stay in there longer.
I know it was like I ain't coming out there.
That's funny because he doesn't act like that now
No,
he's just, he will tear down a wall,
I know.
this wall, your wall, her wall.
Exactly.
So now you, how long was that? What was that
Trying to remember
like?
the oh yes, oh my gosh, that was the one where we go in the hotel room into the hospital room and we hear talking and we think my husband goes, oh honey, do you want a private room? And I go, because you're gonna have to share it with somebody. And I said, no, I don't want to spend my money like that. I'd rather spend it some other way. Well, we go in, and my good friend was the roommate, and her baby wound up being best friends with Gabriel, and they
Mm,
wound up swimming competitively with each other, and just what a blessing that was to
that's
have. I
cool.
know. So she was um finishing up. She left within a day, I think. Then I stayed. I again kind of like Lydia, I wanted to go ahead and leave, but they wouldn't let me. Gabriel had some issues, and that poor little, his poor little heel that kept pricking to see there was something what that some of the labs were not coming back good. And so, like I say, they won't let you, they won't, which is good. They won't release the baby until everything's completely healthy. And um, and he did not get jaundice, and you didn't get jaundice.
Yeah.
And um,
I'm more red in color than yellow, right?
I'm wondering if some of that
I'm
was just being
brown.
in New York and not being around
Other babies and
our
sicknesses?
son, because they were,
Oh, the
uh-huh.
sun.
I'm
Duh.
wondering if
Yeah.
there was something to that.
Hmm.
Because you would have been late April, you would have been out, I would have had you out in the sun more. And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know that. We have to think through that. But anyway, he was a very healthy baby, and he was I I struggle with having a fourth child because I'm 40 and all that, but um Lydia was 10, and she was out of her mind to have a baby brother. She had gotten Cabbage Patch Kids, and they were always boys because she wanted a little boy. And when I got pregnant with him, she said, Mom, you don't need to buy me Christmas. You don't need to buy me birthday. Just have this baby. And so she was like that. She carried him everywhere, and
Yeah.
she got up at night. If you see pictures of her during that time when she's 10 and 11, she has dark circles under her eyes. Because she would get up with him. And of course, I've got to breastfeed him, but she gets up with him and brings him to me. And I said, honey, you don't have to do that. I'm the mom, and you don't have to get up. I know, mama, but I want to.
Yeah.
And so he had a second mom in Lydia. She just really loved him and took care of him as much as
Mm.
she could. So
I remember when Gabriel was born, my dad, I was seven. No, no, no. I was yeah, I was seven.
seven, yeah,
Yeah, I was seven.
yeah.
And dad brought him out. He was
He's a chunk.
bare naked, and
Yeah,
my dad was holding him like this, like
yeah,
Simba, Mazaquinya, and he's screaming and he's naked, and I'm like, that's my brother. I didn't know what to do or say, but yeah,
yeah,
I remember that.
yeah.
And I remember the first time you brought Michael home.
Yeah, nice.
But anyways, so going back to Gabriel, was there anything else you wanted to say about Gabriel?
Um, Just something I'd like to share is that my husband felt that we should have him. He felt that God told him to have him.
Even though you were in your age.
Uh-huh. And he said, and I was happy with what I had and everything. And he said, and you're to name him Gabriel. That's how specific it
Oh
was.
yeah.
So I kind of struggle with that. So Gabriel was very, very, very important to my faith. Because I struggle with that. Even after he was born, I struggle with it. And
You struggle with what?
I struggle with God telling me to have another baby.
Mm,
And so after that, though, God won, and I said, I'm not going to use birth control. And if God wants me to have a baby, I'll have him. If he doesn't, I won't.
wow.
That's why when I had three miscarriages after that, I was like, well, God's will be done. And
Ah,
when I got pregnant with Michael, I just thought it'd be another miscarriage because I'm 45 at that point, and I'm just assuming my body can't, hold a baby.
yeah.
But obviously he did.
Yeah.
But and I even went through some menopausal after Gabriel was born. I started having hot flashes and things like that. About a year, I was 41 or so, and the doctor did check to see um if I was going through menopause. And
Mm,
they can figure it out in the blood, I think. And he said, no, you're not. And I said, well, I'm kind of glad because I feel like Gabriel was going to be alone and it would be nice to have another baby for
Yeah.
him because I knew y'all were older and you'd probably go do your thing. And so, anyway, that wound up happening. They were
You
good
wound up
friends.
having, yeah, a
Yeah,
baby when you were 45,
right,
even after you had three miscarriages.
right.
So hopefully that's encouraging for anyone out there who had a miscarriage and maybe even had, I know some of you have watched Marnie's story. If you haven't, you should check her story out. She had hyperemesis gravidarum, and she had three miscarriages back to back. However, she's currently pregnant. She's, I think, 4 months pregnant now.
Exciting.
So, just because something happens doesn't mean like causation is not correlation. Correlation is not causation, is my exercise physiology professor would say. Just because something is related doesn't mean like that's the cause. So just
Oh, I see what
does
you're
that make
saying. Yeah,
sense?
that's
Like
good.
it just because you had three miscarriages, don't go around saying, "Oh, well then I guess I'm not gonna ever get pregnant." Because that's not, it seems like those are related, but they're actually not. So, because in mom's case, she ended up getting pregnant, even
Hmm.
though she had three miscarriages. Does that make sense?
Right.
As if I'm talking to somebody.
And I had four in all, but I could have said the opposite. I could have, because I had three normal deliveries and
Mm.
everything. I could have said, I'll never have a miscarriage based on your logic there, but
Exactly.
I did. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's true.
Yep. So we've talked about Gabriel, who is, by the way, he works for a law firm and he's just doing great.
Mhm.
And Michael, so tell us about Michael, how what that delivery was like. I mean, you already
Okay.
told us about that he was really long
Yeah,
and
but here was the negative part about his delivery. It went great. And all of that, the sequencing of that, me going through the Lamaze normal labor, and then I had an emergency C-section was good because my insurance, you're not going to have maternity insurance when you're 45. It's too expensive. So I didn't have maternity, so I was going to have to pay for all that. So the insurance paid because of the sequencing of that. But the negative thing was my blood pressure was high after the delivery, and that scared the doctors because I normally have very good blood pressure. And they went through this whole heart thing and
you have preeclampsia?
no, they didn't say that. Had this PVCs is what they said on
Hmm.
the heart monitor. And but they were in a dilemma because they said you could have had these all your life, but we didn't know it. And
PVCs,
PVCs, I think that's what they're called.
preventricular contraction
Yeah.
with your heart.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So you see it on the little monitor, the way it goes up and down. And so anyway, the negative about that is I was not able to be with him because I really, really think it's important to be with your baby as soon as possible. Put them on your chest, and like our grandbabies were, they were right there. My Gabriel was there, Audrey was, they had the baby right there on their skin right after, and they did not allow that for me. And so Michael was separated and
Hmm.
kept from me, and I thought I was going to go crazy. They put me in the operation step down unit where they check, monitor you frequently for several hours. Then they put me in a private room, and I was just about to pull my hair out. And
Hmm.
Barry needed to be with y'all, I believe, so I didn't wasn't seeing him,
Hmm.
but I just wanted to see Michael. That's who I wanted to see, and
Oh,
I could not. And every nurse that came in, if somebody swept my floor, anything that I said, "Is there any way I could see my baby?" And they were like, no, ma'am, I'm sorry. And then finally, one nurse said, look, sweetie, I'm going to go off duty in about an hour. And if you still haven't got your baby, I will bring your baby to you. And
oh,
she did that. And
she
I'll never,
brought
yes,
him.
brought him. And I'll never forget that.
Wow.
So just imagine you've been through all that and then you don't have your baby. I mean, what in the world? And he was perfectly healthy and fine.
Why did they do that?
They thought it would hurt my heart, which it did hurt my heart not seeing him. That's what they told me. I think it's Yeah, not,
I digress. Even though I
yeah,
didn't even say anything, I'm not even going to start.
yeah.
Okay.
That was a very unpleasant thing about it. But all the labor and everything went great, and he like I said, I don't remember him. I don't think he had the jaundice or anything. And but I know what it was. Because he was my fifth child, I was glad to stay in the hospital longer.
Yeah, you're like, I'll take those days that I didn't utilize earlier.
So I did.
I've been storing them up.
Exactly. And with the heart issue, that got me a private room. So I had a private room, but
Nice.
nice and big. I don't know if you remember it when you come to visit,
I
but
was at home a lot. I think dad, like
oh,
I didn't really go to the hospital because I
oh,
remember when you brought him home, it was cold. It was in December and it was a carrier and there was a blanket over the carrier and it was almost like a ta-da kind of thing. And y'all put
like
it
a
down there.
magic trick. Pull that
Yeah,
blanket up.
yeah. And it was downstairs in the den and yeah, you pulled the blanket up and I just remember how he just looked so I was how old? Like 10 or
Let's
something.
see.
I was, wait, no, no, I was in eighth, no, 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 I was in
He was born
seventh
in
grade. I
97.
was in seventh grade. I remember because
Okay.
Mr. H, I told him whatever. And so he just looked so small. And I remember he had these very blue eyes that looked like blueberries.
Yes, and she leaned over. She said, "These look like blueberries." And I went, "Abigail, don't pick them."
I wasn't gonna pick them, but they looked like little blueberries.
It scared me that because she was so, "These look like blueberries."
I am kind of mischievous, so I
Yeah, you
understand.
never know. But they
Um,
were real. He's the only one with blue eyes out of the five children. His eyes are really blue.
Yeah, the rest of us have green, like Lydia had teal eyes. I have very green eyes, but people tell me my eyes change.
And my eyes change. Yours
Yours,
are more like mine, I
I
think.
think yours are like Lydia's are like
No,
yours.
that's right. And yours are actually green
Mine are
more.
green and Ben's are green.
Yeah.
Um,
But
and
but
Gabriel's is brown.
he's the only brown-eyed, even though Barry had brown-eyed. I always thought that was weird.
Yeah, Dad's brown-eyed, but
Mm.
Gabriel's the only one. And Gabe's left-handed and Dad's left-handed.
I don't think so.
Gabe's left-handed, right?
No.
Are you sure?
None of our children are left-handed because I wanted, back in my day, if you were left-handed, they forced you to use your right hand. So I fought hard to encourage y'all to be
I thought
left-handed.
for sure Gabe was
And
left-handed.
I think left-hand people are maybe smarter or something. So I would, and Barry's, left-handed,
I'm
but
gonna text him right now.
none of y'all are left-handed.